What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Laugh to Learn podcast, your weekly source for, of course, a comedic spin on all the goings-on in the world. My name is, as always, Jacob Paveo. Still hasn't changed, and I come to you from the Great White North on all podcast services every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The world can listen to. The world can listen to it every single Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Please thank yourselves for tuning in, for checking out the podcast and supporting. Feel free, if it's your first time here, to hit that subscribe button. Everyone can please share the podcast. Take a screenshot of it playing on your phone and share it over on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. Your Twitter fleet. I finally got that word down. I don't use them, but I figured out what the word is. It's the easiest way to spread the word, and it means a whole lot. I am super hyped, and that's what we're going to talk about this week, because finally we are one of the last places in North America here in Ontario, but we are finally starting to reopen. Today, when this podcast launches, June 2nd, is the first big phase one of this reopening plan. And so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about reopening, a reemergence, a new beginning, things we can look forward to, things we need to watch out for, and all of the exciting stuff that comes with a new world, as that one Disney song talks about. So thank you guys so much for checking it out. You already know where you are. This is the Laugh to Learn podcast. Hey, check it out. It's the Laugh to Learn podcast. So last week, we did not have an episode. It was Victoria Day long weekend here, and I, along with my family, decided that we were going to tear up all of my grass and do a whole bunch of work around the house and all sorts of crazy stuff. So by the time it came to recording the podcast on Tuesday, I was like, I am tired. Does anyone else find that when it comes to a long weekend? I can't be the only one, where like a long weekend is always more tiring than a regular weekend. When I went back to work on Tuesday, I was like, holy hell, it feels like it should be Friday already. It felt like I had already worked a full week. One thing that I do not do well is relax. I really don't do that at all, which is probably something that you can tell since you're listening to a podcast of mine, and anyone with this sort of thing going on the side clearly does not take enough time for themselves. But anyways, moving on to what we have to deal with now. Next Wednesday is my vaccine appointment, my first dose. Unfortunately, the second dose isn't until... I just broke my desk. Uh-oh. Where'd it go? I literally just broke a piece of metal off my desk, and I don't even know where the other piece went. Anyways, let's leave that in there. Unfortunately, my second dose isn't until September 29th, and I'm hoping that gets bumped up. But for now, I will be getting the first dose this coming Wednesday. That's Wednesday next week. So next week's podcast, I'm going to record it either Wednesday or Thursday, so I don't know which day it's gonna go up. It'll definitely be later, but I want to talk about the experience of getting the vaccine, because I know most people have already had it, but many people still haven't. Many people are hesitant, so I might even end up doing like a video podcast sort of thing, just to put up, to spread the word, not only of my podcast, but of the fact that, like, as someone who is literally has a phobia of needles, it's just like you have to do it. So I'm not even actually like worried about it, but it is what it is, right? Everyone has to get this needle. We all have to just get it over with. So let's go. But I'm really excited because this past weekend, we're not going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, okay? But the Leafs and the Habs, the Montreal Canadiens, and the Toronto Maple Leafs were playing in the playoffs, and it was the first time that there was a crowd in Canada for any event, sporting, concert, or otherwise, since last March. So it was a huge deal. It was crazy to see, large numbers of people in the arena. I mean, they had 2,500 fans in an arena that usually seats roughly like 20,000 or something like that. So not great, but it's still a start. And it was really, really exciting to see. And what that did for me, and I'm sure it did for many other people, is it gave me a lot of hope about this reopening. Because if you recall, last summer, we had something very similar happen where it was like, this is coming to an end and vaccines are on the way, and, the summer is going to kill the virus and it's going to be gone. And none of that ended up happening. Not here anyways. So we ended up fully locked down before the end of September last year, or I guess it was October of last year, and really haven't seen any normal return to life since then. And I know a lot of people are excited to be able to go out and not wear a mask or whatever. For me, like, I'm the kind of person who, now that grocery stores are offering like just store pickup and I don't have to spend an hour in a grocery store, I have no idea why anyone wants to spend an hour in a grocery store. I don't want to pick my shit. I don't want to be like, no, thank you. I'll pay the $3 to have someone else do it for me. But that's just me. I understand that most people don't feel that way, but that's the way that I truly feel about it. So I am not bothered by, the fact that I haven't been in a grocery store now in over a year. I actually quite enjoy that. And I don't plan on returning to a grocery store. But for me, the big thing is like concerts, restaurants, just going over to people's houses, having people come over to your house, I've talked about it before that since I bought my house, I have not had anyone come over to see it. I haven't even bought a couch yet, which I guess I have to do because I can have people come over as of today. I can have 10 people over at my house. I don't even have a couch for them to sit on. So there's just all this stuff that suddenly it's been a year and a half nearly since we were able to legally do this stuff. And it feels so good to finally have a sense of normalcy coming back. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole 3-stage plan that Ontario has because it's already been convoluted. They gave us 3 distinct things that, like, the first one was today, June 2nd. Here's the list of everything you'll be able to do. And then last week they said, oh yeah, about that list, these 7 items, we're going to actually push them to June 19th. So they just split it up and it's all convoluted already. And I don't want to get into it because it's kind of boring and I'm in a really good mood right now. I'm really excited that I actually don't know what I'm going to do tonight. Because I don't have grass and it's supposed to rain tomorrow, I'm going to bring my dog Benny to my parents' house because I don't want him covered in mud in my house, to be perfectly honest with you. And my parents still have grass, so he'll go and stay there tomorrow. Probably tonight and tomorrow because, like I said, we're supposed to get a bunch of rain. So my yard's basically going to be like a thing of mud. And as anyone who has a dog knows, mud doesn't go too well with dog fur. So, after I drop him off, though, I'm thinking that I might go visit some, friends at a park or something like that. Like, get Starbucks and sit at a park in the sunshine. Like, I'm so excited. And, I mean, even some of my good friends have moved recently. I haven't even really been to their new house. I've just seen it from the outside or whatever. I am so hyped for life to get back to normal. And I hope that you guys are too, because it's now to the point where all of us have done, I shouldn't say all of us, because there's still people protesting for the anti-mask and whatever. But most of us have done so well to get on with this reality that we've been forced to live in, and that we're still, forced to live in, right? And this is something that no one asked for. It's something that none of our kids asked for. The younger generation is what I feel, most like the worst for. This Sunday is my birthday, #27, officially in my late 20s. And, essentially like 25 and 26, were lost to COVID, right? I shouldn't, maybe not 25 so much. It was like, whatever it was, 3 or 4 months of being 25. And then all of 26 was in COVID under some form of lockdown where I couldn't hang out with more than 5 people legally. Did I follow that rule? Always except one weekend. But otherwise, everyone kind of did everything that they could. Actually, I don't think it was illegal what we did because it was in August. And I think it was at that time you could be in a group of 30 and we were a group of 10, or a group of 15 and we were a group of 10. So either way, I know we didn't break the rules, but it was like guidelines. It's like you shouldn't hang out with people, but I did anyways. One time, okay? Get over it, Mom. Actually, my parents were the ones who were like, you probably should do this, because I did have a discussion about whether or not I should go. But this year, it feels very different, as I was alluding to, because it feels like now that we have the vaccine, things are normalized. We've all worked so hard to get to this point. We're finally seeing the numbers drop off, which certainly is being helped by the vaccines themselves. But, and here's the little negative point that I have to make, we do know that when you have the vaccine, you still can contract and spread coronavirus. So the vaccine, what it does is it protects us from having the severe negative side effects, which is ultimately all we're worried about, right? Like, if having, some horrible disease didn't actually affect you, it wouldn't actually matter. Case in point, every single one of us, you listening right now, the people that live in your house, the people you work with, all of us have Spanish influenza in us. But because every single human, other than those who are in these select pockets in like the Amazon, every human alive was exposed directly, or their descendants were exposed directly to Spanish flu. It just lives in all of us now. It's just like there. We are all immune to it. It does nothing. It has no impact on us. If you were to test people for Spanish influenza, it would come up all the time. All the time. And there are several illnesses like this. There's another major plague that it's the same idea. It's everywhere. It's in every single person, like almost always, right? If you were to test for it, it would be like, oh my God, it's everywhere. People would be terrified. But it has no impact on us. It's just our bodies have become completely immune to it, right? People used to die of diarrhea, right? That literally used to kill people. Well, nowadays, with modern medicine, hydration, stuff like that, we know how to survive those mild illnesses. And they become more rampant when they're not killing people. They spread way faster, but they just have no impact on us. So that's the idea of getting the COVID vaccine. Basically, if we didn't have the vaccine, what would end up happening is the same thing that happened with Spanish flu or any of these other major outbreaks, which would be that every single one of us would get it. It would kill everyone, and the rest of the people would develop immunities for it. Like, that's what would happen. And if you didn't develop the immunities, you would die. Well, now we have vaccines, and we can use the vaccines to give immunities to everyone, even those who wouldn't naturally build them, right? Specifically people who are immunocompromised and the elderly, but there are just people who genetically would not be able to build those antibodies. So it's awesome now that by getting this needle, we can provide that to people. However, it will still spread. right? So it's just a reality that it's always going to be here. This will not get rid of the coronavirus. It'll just make it a a a small thing. We're going to have to get this needle indefinitely. I've said that many times before. The U.S. government really is the only major government that's spoken openly that like they're calling it, the COVID booster shot you'll have to get 6 months later. They haven't said you'll have to come every 6 months, but that's what it's going to be. And I think everyone kind of has to see that by now. But yeah, it's just true that we won't be able to get rid of COVID. But we can get back to normal when people are fully vaccinated and we're cycling through those vaccines. And does it suck that every single person in the world is going to have to get this vaccine every 6 months? Absolutely. However, it's the only thing we can do, right? It's the only thing we can do to get forward, to get through to the end of COVID days, right? And see the other side. And we should be so excited to do so. Look right now, like Vegas yesterday opened casinos to 100% capacity because the state of Nevada had enough people vaccinated, like their vaccination level reached a point where they felt comfortable doing so. And it's awesome to see. There are like awesome concerts going on. There are festivals going on. And the majority of these people are double vaccinated. And I've been kind of open about it in my life that even for me, like returning to work, I don't plan on doing it until I have that second vaccine now. Like I have the end date. September 29th is my appointment for my second dose. 2 weeks after that is when I'll be considered fully vaccinated. That's when I can return to work. That's when I'll be able to visit, every single person. Like people, like I have, friends and family who are either seniors or immunocompromised or whatever. I will not go and see you until you have had your 2 doses and I have had mine. And then, it minimizes the chances of coronavirus ruining someone's life. And I think that's how everyone should now be looking at this, is we have the opportunity to minimize the impact of coronavirus. We don't have the opportunity to eliminate it, but that's not something that we should fear. It's not something we should worry about. It's not even something that we should consider, right? Because we really, as humans, we want to be able to control a situation and to be able to say that, we have this incredible scientific hive mind kind of thing where we have the best and brightest people all over the world in biology and specifically in biology and immunology working on this to get rid of it. And why can't they get rid of it? We as humans want to be able to control it. And if you watch the news, that's kind of the way they pitch it, is like, this will get rid of the coronavirus. That's how the editorials spin it. Because it's really difficult to explain to people, like, it's not going to get rid of it. It's just going to have no impact. Because then most people look at that and they say, well, how does that work? Like, I've had a few conversations already where, I've explained to someone that, like, it doesn't actually kill coronavirus. It doesn't get rid of it. You can still contract it. You can still spread it. You will just have no idea. And there are people who say, well, how is that better? Because what if I spread it without knowing it? Well, it's better because when everyone gets that needle, no one will ever know they had it. Just like the Spanish flu, how it still gets spread today, and no one knows they had Spanish influenza, right? It's just not a thing. There's only one thing that human vaccines have ever completely eradicated, and that's smallpox, which was an extreme feat of human ingenuity. There's like free documentaries on YouTube if you're ever interested in what happens when the entire world sees a benefit in a form of healthcare like that. In that case, it was a vaccine, and no one was fooled by smallpox because it was visible, because you could see it. if you've seen images or video of children that had smallpox, just a horrible, horrible, horrible virus that, you could physically see it. You couldn't hide it. Whereas for some reason, because coronavirus is not visible, right? You can't look at someone and be like, oh, those red dots on your forehead mean you have coronavirus. There's nothing like that to point it out. For some reason, people end up having difficulty comprehending the need for a vaccine and allowing themselves to believe in something negative. And it's not just, actually, it's not at all the extremely religious groups, which normally it is in these cases, which is kind of funny because it's the people who believe in something you can't see that are usually the most difficult to convince something they can't see exists. But in this case, and I know that from personal experience, but in this case, it's not the case, just statistically. Religious folks, religious groups, the right-wing evangelicals in the U.S., they are actually more likely to get the coronavirus vaccine. It's young men who aren't doing it, young white men. It's a significant but still small population of African American individuals who their their concern is primarily based. I need to learn how to talk. It's primarily based around the fact that, of course, throughout time, the United States government specifically, but many others, have actually used black people as test subjects. So there are people who are afraid that that could be happening now, which it's clearly not. But, it's a justified opinion. And ironically enough, college-educated white women are a significant portion of this as well. So it's non-college-educated white men and college-educated white women who are typically left-wing and conservative, both sides. And then you have this elite liberal group that is also against it. Same groups that are against vaccines that they think that it causes autism. They cause autism and stuff, like the booster shot or whatever the vaccine is that they think causes autism. That group. So you have this significant portion. It's about 30 to 40% of the United States when you add all those groups together who don't plan on getting vaccinated for coronavirus. And it just leaves me with this kind of like an empty feeling. Like how are we supposed to do this together when someone or some group is openly essentially testifying against the efficacy of the vaccine when they have no reason, no professional explanation. They have no statistical evidence. They have essentially nothing to go on. But they are the first ones to tell you that it is the wrong thing to do and that you're making a mistake doing it. And I've actually come across a few pretty large influencers across social media. Specifically, I've seen them on Instagram. I looked for them. They didn't just show up. They're not like super popular that they were all over the homepage. But it doesn't take long to find people with 10 or 13,000 views on a video on Instagram, and there's a lot of them. And it's like a 30 or 40 second video of them explaining how this crazy story about how the vaccine kills people and just crazy shit. And there's still a group that thinks that this is a Bill Gates conspiracy, and that's a legitimate thing. There are people who legitimately think this has to do with 5G, and they're putting chips in people through the vaccine. It's horribly sad to see, and I really don't know how to handle those individuals and those opinions. But I'm about to live my life because things are about to turn up. There are going to be concerts, festivals, bars, clubs. I am hyped because by the end of this summer, I'm getting drunk in a bar, and I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been in a casino for like a year and a half, 2 years. I am super, super excited to get out, to live my life, and to do my thing. And I hope that you guys are too, because we've been at this for far too long. We've been dealing with this for too long. We've been locked up for too long. It's time to get out. It's time to live our lives. I hope you guys are with me. I hope everyone, I've been messaging with, I have a few friends that are now double vaccinated, and the first thing I tell all of them is to get out and live your life. Like, once you can, get out there. Do it for us, because, I'm in the last group that's able to get vaccinated, but that's cool, man. You guys need to live it up before me, because, I can catch up, right? Like, if I show up to a party at 2 a.m. stone cold sober, by 2:15, I'm on everyone else's level. So I have no problem being the last one to show up to this vaccinated party. So let's get out there. Let's get at it, because it is time to turn this around. It's time for this to end. It's time for everything to open back up. Go book your appointments for those vaccines if you haven't already. And then, we can all live happily ever after, and we can finally turn things up and have a good friggin' time living life here on Earth, because there's only so many years that we have to do it. We've lost a year and a half. All of us have. But it's time to turn it around, say, this is done, wave the white flag in the air, and take a shot of Jack Daniels with the other hand. Thank you all so much for listening. As always, I encourage you to take these discussions with your friends, your family, and with me over on social media. All of the links, of course, you can find in the description to this podcast. Don't forget to share the podcast with your family and friends. Take that screenshot of it playing on your phone. Share it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, MySpace, wherever you happen to be, TikTok, do it all. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already on your favorite podcasting app. We have merch. Don't forget, you can find it over at www.laughtolearnpodcast.com/store. All of those links, of course, are in the description. Until next time, friends, start taking those shots now. Let's pre-drink for the party. Keep washing your hands. Keep social distancing. Keep wearing your mask. Keep booking those vaccine appointments and getting those doses. Keep on laughing and keep on learning.